Good morning. I've been needing to make this video for some time, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Tiffany. I'm a psych nurse practitioner, and I'm actually in the process of writing a book called Healing After a Traumatic Relationship. So I thought that would be the first video I made. I thought it would be about healing after a traumatic relationship. But if you know me, most recently, my oldest daughter lost her father. And so this video is not at all about healing after a traumatic relationship. Today, God has put on my heart to talk about men and women who have done long stints in prison. Because I think a lot of times, I know a lot of times what happens when you've done long stints in prison and you get out, you feel lost on the outside. After some time, you've psyched yourself up, like you're ready to go. You count the days by the minutes and the hours to come home. But then when you get home, the whole world has changed. And there is no process in Arizona. Other states may be different, but there's no process to get you ready for the real world. And the people out here some people have people waiting for them and some don't. But even if you have people waiting for you, they have no idea mentally what you're going through to get you acclimated for the real world. So what happens after some time, especially if you've had a history of addiction or alcoholism, any of those things, your subconscious says, I'm safer at home. And because you've been in prison for so long, your subconscious thinks home is prison. So it causes you to do stuff that sends you back to prison. And a lot of time, the person going through all of this don't even understand the concept. They don't even understand, how do I keep ending back up in prison? But when I get to prison, I so badly want to be in the outside. But when I'm out, I keep committing crimes and going back. And so I wanted to discuss this today because I feel like if I could just reach even one person who could reach one person, at least we could have a process and a thought process of like what's happening. So I wrote down like 10 points. But the number one thing for the person who spent a lot of time in prison and kind of is starting to feel like I'm lost out here, is every day you talk to yourself in the third person. So if it was for me, I would say to myself, Tiffany, you are right, you're doing good out here. This is our home. I'm safe here. I will find a job. I'm going to have all the good things. I will find, I'll buy a car. I'm going to have a house. I am safe out here every single day, several times a day if you need to, because we have to reprogram the subconscious to know this is our home. Another thing you need to do is when you think about prison, you can't think about it in a way of like you're romanticizing it. Like, when I was in prison, you need to think of prison in a way of like, that was the worst place I've ever been in, because it was. You just had to do what you had to do to survive. So your brain is remembering all the good things, right? That's how our brain works. It wants to save us. It wants to remember the good things. But you have to override that and remember, I was told when to eat. I was told when to do whatever. I was never safe. So that is for the person who's been in there. Now, the person whose family is trying to help them on the outside, you have to know that they have a form of PTSD. And I probably need to do more research on it, but I always compare it to people who've been overseas in wars for a long time, because they have been in war, except nobody was excited for them to be coming home like you do when you're in the military, right? Everybody is like, thank you for your service. But to their brain, they were still at war. every single day in prison, you don't know, somebody's been killed, somebody's this, you're in a ranking system. It's very much like war. And you just learn to cope with it, but nobody treats them like a patient, a person with PTSD, and that's what they need. And so I'm gonna first start with if you have somebody in prison who you are dealing with. So some things I wrote down is so you can try to help them from getting out with this PTSD type problem, and kind of help them acclimate to the real world better. So the first point I got is keep them attached to the outside world. So you keep them attached to the outside world by involving them not just in the drama, but in what's changing in technology, politics, medicine, all the things that's happening, all the things. And to keep them attached to the outside world, you have to keep yourself attached to the outside world, right? And so you need to be evolving and growing and doing the things, and so they can be evolving and growing also. It's important that if you have a family member or a loved one in there, your spouse or whatever, to try to prevent them from feeling abandoned. A lot of these people who come out of prison have abandonment issues because they feel like when they went in, people just forgot about them. And so it's a lot of insecurity, a lot of mistrust of like, I can't trust nobody. Even if you met them at the end of their stint and you did the rest with them, when they get out, they've already had trust issues and abandonment issues. So they don't know that you're gonna be there. And so a lot of times they do cheat and lie and do all the things because they have that inner abandonment mistrust that, like, even though it wasn't you who broke it, it's in them already, and they need to learn how to heal that. I always say remind them of who God called them to be. Every conversation you have before you hang up, remember who God called you to be. Ask them, who did God call you to be? What did God tell you you were when you were young, right? God calls us loved. God loves us. He calls us chosen. And so it's important to remind them of those things that God has called them every day, every phone call, every visit. Remind them of who God called them to be. While they're in there, search for resources for them to do in there. Like if you're gonna be a part of their life, you have to be the one to promote these things. Oh, I talked to your counselor and they said they're offering drug classes. They're offering these classes. Encourage them to do those things that keep them motivated and growing while they're in there. And so to do that, you have to be communicating with their counselors and the people attached to them. Just like anything, if those counselors and people in prison know, hey, inmate blah, blah, blah has family, and they family check on them and they involve, they will not get treated as bad because they know, hey, she gonna call the warden, she on top of it, she gonna know if something is wrong, or he gonna know if something is wrong with a family member. So they give them a little more grace. And I think read books together. When you have somebody in prison, you often send them books, but read them together. Send them a book, you download it on Audible if you don't have time to read it, and you read it. And when y'all on the phone, y'all discuss the book. Y'all learn together. Y'all do, whatever it is together. When you go visit, y'all discuss that book for a little bit. Hey, what do you think about chapter blah, blah, blah? So y'all growing together. And also have real conversation about plans and goals, not fantasy, real life. Because a lot of people who I know who've dated people in prison, and the conversation is like, oh, I can't wait to get out. I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that. And we going to do this and we going to do that. But how? And so when they get out, there is no plan. So they feel like they fail in themselves. They fail in you. They fail in their kids. Have real conversations about, you know what, when you get out, because you got a felony, it may take some time, but this is what we gonna do. Have real conversation and real life expectations, not only for you, for them, but for you. Because a lot of women get out thinking this man is gonna be thinking a lot of women wait for these men to get out of prison and expect this whole saved human being, and they come out here and that's not who they are. But the reality is they haven't learned to be that. They've just talked about being it. It's just been a fantasy of, oh, this is what he's gonna do when he gets out, and we gonna have this, and he said he gonna take care of me, and he gonna, but how? What's the reality? Before you know he getting out, have job set up, have work clothes ready instead of like the latest, Nikes and all that stuff. Also have work, clothes that they could wear to job interviews. You start networking with people who take felonies, and based on the classes they've taken, hey, this person is getting out, let me know of any job openings. You start doing the work if you were the one who's that committed to them. Don't let them get out and feel like they're flopping, if you can. And then also, when you're in there with them, when you're talking to them, when you're doing this time on the phone writing letters, have real conversations with them about what they've gone through. Real deep conversations with them about what they are going through, what they went through as children. Really dig up that inner child wounds that need to be kind of worked on, healed, and those things. Because again, you cannot do 5, 10, 15, 20 years with somebody, live in this fantasy and think they've healed because they've been in prison. There is no therapy in prison. There is no counselors in prison that's working with these people one-on-one and getting them through. There should be, but there's not. And so the same abandonment, the same wounds, the same mommy issues, daddy issues, drug addictions, whatever they went in prison with, they're going to come out with. There has been nothing in there to heal them. And so it's you, if you're going to do this with them, it's your job kind of to be the therapist and help them through until they can get out and hopefully see a real therapist. And then I think this is the most important thing for anybody who's doing time with somebody on the inside. It's so important that you get the help you need, right? You have to figure out what trauma and issues do you have. I was reading a book by Dr. Miles Monroe, and he said, in the area of marriage or relationships, the most dangerous thing is for a sick person to marry a sick person. And what that means to me is like, you got abandonment issues, you got daddy issues, you got mama issues, and then you expecting them to come save you. They got all those issues. They expecting this from you, but the reality is y'all both broken and nobody can heal anybody. So they get out, y'all living in this fantasy world. They still, mentally, whatever the age they went in, that's the mental capacity they have for this outside world if they have not been attached to the outside. So if you went in at 18, 19, 20, now you're 30, mentally you still kind of that age. And so, especially again, if nobody's been in there keeping you attached to the outside, keeping you aware of what's going on, all the things, then they don't have the capacity to be in a full relationship, married to you, walking as a husband, walking as a wife. They don't have that capacity yet. And so what happens, they do what they know to do. They start selling drugs. They start cheating. They like that attention from these other women who have no requirements of them. And so you have to do the work for you. So while you're going through this walk with them, you help them do the work for themselves. And then hopefully you guys, when they get out, y'all both are adults mentally, not just by age. And then y'all can walk this thing together and it's not all chaos and drama and trauma. So that's for the people who are in there. Now this is for the people who are already out. And if your person has done a long time in prison, I would encourage you to learn about PTSD. Learn about PTSD signs and symptoms. Learn about healing and treating PTSD, and find them a therapist. If they get any kind of access or, free healthcare, if they have a job that has healthcare, find them a therapist. Go, let them, they have to work through those problems themselves. Once they out here, You cannot force a grown person to be or do what you feel like they need to be or do. But you can be a resource. So you can help them find a therapist. You can help them, with the things you can help them with. But ultimately, they have to choose that, I'm tired of these years, giving these years away. I'm tired of being in the same cycle living, and hopefully they will start talking to themselves in the third person. Like I said, every day I deserve all the good things God has to offer. I deserve to be a good husband. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I'm an educated man. I'm successful. I'm an educated woman. I deserve to be a good mother. All these things, and slowly their subconscious will start changing, and they will slowly become the person they want to be. But nobody will ever be the person you want them to be. And so that's it for now. I hope this video helps somebody. Have a good rest of your day.